Imagine waking up in a world where one empire controls nearly everything you know. A world where roads stretch across continents, where laws govern millions of people speaking different languages, and where a single city stands at the center of civilization. That city was Rome. At its peak, the Roman Empire ruled over 70 million people, nearly a quarter of the world's population. Its armies conquered vast territories from the misty hills of Britain to the scorching deserts of North Africa. But here's the mystery. How did a small settlement on the banks of a river become the most powerful empire in human history? And perhaps even more fascinating, how did an empire that seemed unstoppable eventually collapse? The answers lie in a story filled with ambition, betrayal, innovation, war, and one of the greatest rises and falls civilization has ever witnessed. This is the story of the Roman Empire, and its echoes still shape our world today. The story begins in 753 BC. According to legend, Rome was founded by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, raised by a she-wolf after being abandoned as infants. Whether myth or reality, the tale reflected something important about Rome itself: survival. The early Romans lived in a dangerous world, surrounded by rival tribes and hostile neighbors. Every day was a struggle for existence, but adversity forged strength. Over centuries, Rome transformed from a modest settlement into a growing republic. Unlike many kingdoms of the ancient world, Rome developed a political system where elected officials shared power. It wasn't a democracy in the modern sense, but it gave Rome a flexibility many rivals lacked, and that flexibility would soon be tested. Because beyond Rome's borders, powerful enemies were watching, and one of them nearly destroyed everything. In the 3rd century BC, Rome faced its greatest threat: a wealthy maritime superpower known as Carthage. Located in present-day Tunisia, Carthage controlled vital trade routes and possessed immense wealth. Conflict between these two powers became inevitable. The result was a series of brutal conflicts known as the Punic Wars. And then came a military genius whose name would terrify Rome for generations: Hannibal. In 218 BC, Hannibal did something thought impossible. He marched an army, including war elephants, across the Alps. The Romans never saw it coming. Battle after battle ended in disaster for Rome. Entire Roman armies were annihilated. Citizens feared the empire's destruction was imminent. But Rome refused to surrender. Again and again, it raised new armies. Again and again, it fought back, and eventually the tide turned. By defeating Carthage, Rome emerged as the dominant power of the Mediterranean. Yet victory brought a new problem. Rome had conquered the world. Now it had to govern it. And success would create cracks that enemies never could. As Roman territory expanded, wealth flooded into the Republic. Gold, slaves, resources, power. But prosperity came at a cost. The gap between rich and poor widened dramatically. Political corruption spread. Military leaders gained influence that rivaled the state itself. The Republic was becoming unstable. And then one man changed everything: Julius Caesar. A brilliant general and charismatic leader, Caesar conquered vast territories and became immensely popular. Too popular. Many senators feared he was becoming a king in all but name. Tensions escalated, alliances fractured. The Republic stood on the edge of civil war. Then, in 49 BC, Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army. It was an act of rebellion, a declaration that there was no turning back. The Roman Republic would never be the same. But Caesar's rise would lead to an even more dramatic downfall, one that unfolded on a single day in March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March. Julius Caesar entered the Senate. He never walked out. A group of conspirators surrounded him. Blades flashed. Within moments, Rome's most powerful man lay dead. The assassins believed they were saving the Republic. Instead, they unleashed chaos. Civil war erupted. Political alliances shattered. Rome descended into turmoil. And from that chaos emerged another remarkable leader. A young man few expected to change history. His name was Octavian. The world would remember him differently, as Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was gone. The empire had begun, and Rome's golden age was just getting started. Under Augustus and his successors, Rome entered an era historians call the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For nearly 2 centuries, the empire experienced unprecedented stability. Trade flourished, cities expanded, engineering transformed daily life. Roman roads connected distant provinces. Aqueducts carried fresh water across impossible distances. Monumental architecture showcased Rome's power and ambition. The empire became a marvel of human achievement. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, thousands of miles of roads. Many of these wonders still stand today. But beneath the prosperity, trouble was brewing, because no empire grows forever, and Rome had reached a size that even its greatest leaders struggled to control. The seeds of decline had already been planted. The question was when they would begin to grow. By the 3rd century AD, Rome faced mounting challenges: economic instability, political corruption, power struggles, foreign invasions. Emperors rose and fell at alarming speed. Some ruled for only months before being overthrown. Others were assassinated by the very soldiers sworn to protect them. The empire entered a period historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. For decades, Rome seemed trapped in a cycle of disaster. Yet somehow, it survived. New reforms stabilized the empire. But the solutions came with consequences. Rome became increasingly divided, and division would prove dangerous. Because beyond the frontiers, powerful forces were gathering. For centuries, Rome had defended its borders. Now, the borders were beginning to fail. The 4th and 5th centuries brought enormous pressure. Germanic tribes pushed into Roman territory. The arrival of the Huns created waves of migration across Europe. The empire struggled to respond. Resources dwindled. Military strength weakened. Political unity collapsed. In an attempt to improve governance, Rome split into 2 halves: the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. The East remained strong. The West did not. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. Rome itself was sacked by invading forces. For centuries, the city had seemed invincible. Now, its vulnerability was exposed. The psychological shock echoed across the ancient world, but an even greater blow was yet to come. In 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor was removed from power. The Western Roman Empire had fallen. An empire that dominated the world for centuries was gone. Or was it? Because Rome's story didn't end there. While the West collapsed, the Eastern Roman Empire endured. Centered in Constantinople, it continued for nearly another 1,000 years. Today, historians often call it the Byzantine Empire. But its people considered themselves Romans. They preserved Roman law, Roman traditions, Roman identity, long after the fall of the West. And Rome's influence extended even further. Roman law shaped modern legal systems. Roman engineering inspired generations. Roman architecture influenced cities around the globe. Even the languages spoken by hundreds of millions today trace their roots to Rome. The empire had fallen. Its legacy had not. The rise and fall of the Roman Empire is more than a story about the past. It's a story about power, about ambition, about innovation and resilience. Rome rose because it adapted, expanded, and embraced new ideas. But it declined when internal divisions, corruption, and instability weakened its foundations. Its history reminds us that even the mightiest civilizations are not immortal. Yet Rome achieved something extraordinary. More than 15 centuries after its fall, its influence still surrounds us. In our laws, our governments, our architecture, even our languages. The empire disappeared, but its legacy became immortal. And perhaps that's Rome's greatest achievement of all. If you enjoyed this journey through one of history's greatest civilizations, subscribe to Lumenarra for more cinematic documentaries exploring the rise and fall of empires, forgotten mysteries, and the stories that shaped our world. Because history is never truly gone. It's waiting to be rediscovered.